You know, it's funny. When a country strikes oil, right, everyone always asks who benefits. Well, today we're diving into Guyana. They're really making waves with how they're sharing their oil wealth. I mean, they had that plan for direct cash grants to every household using that oil money. But then, get this, they did a complete U-turn.
Wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like a little tweak here and there. They totally overhauled the entire system. But get this, the idea for the change actually came from, well, an unexpected place. The opposing political party.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. How so?
So let's rewind a bit, okay? Initially, Guyana had announced a $200,000 Guyanese dollar grant per household, right?
Right. Seems pretty straightforward.
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. The idea to switch from households to, get this, individuals. Came from Winston Jordan. He was a former finance minister from the APNU plus AFC, the opposition party. He actually proposed like a $100,000 grant, but to every single citizen over 18.
See, that's where Guyana's really breaking the mold, Instead of the usual political gridlock, the current administration actually listened. They embraced Jordan's idea.
Wow.
Yeah. President Your Family even acknowledged that defining households, well, that was going to be a mess, could even leave some people out unintentionally.
It really makes you think, though, why take on the opposition's proposal? What was the big reason?
Well, President Ali actually mentioned being concerned about, believe it or not, conflicts within families.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, imagine, just picture this, trying to figure out who controls a big chunk of money like that, especially in a household with multiple generations,
Ooh, recipe for disaster.
Totally. And then, of course, you always have the risk of corruption.
Right. With a household system, it feels like there's more wiggle room to kind of bend the rules to get more money, But going individual, well, it seems like the government's trying to be more transparent and trying to, share the wealth more fairly. But what does that actually mean for everyday people in Guyana? What are the implications? Like, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Under the old plan, a family, 4 adults, they would have gotten that $200,000.
Right.
But now, with individual payments, they're suddenly looking at $400,000. That's huge. That's a lot more spending power.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where it gets really, really fascinating from an economic perspective.
Yeah.
Just try to imagine the impact of all that money suddenly being in people's pockets.
Right.
It's like this massive mini stimulus package handed out to every single adult citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So will we see this surge in spending? Will this be great for local businesses? Or, here's a thought, could it actually trigger inflation if things can't keep up with the demand?
Whoa, those are the million-dollar questions, huh?
Right.
It's almost like watching this nationwide economic experiment unfold. The whole world's watching to see what happens.
Yeah. And, what's even more interesting is that it's not just about the immediate impact. This move really makes you think about how fast a developing nation can absorb this huge amount of cash into its economy.
Right.
Will this lead to growth that's sustainable? Or will this create some unforeseen bumps in the road? Big question.
It really is fascinating, though, right? Like, this whole thing,
It is
this direct cash thing from the oil money, it's kind of unheard of on this scale, don't you think?
Yeah, it's definitely unusual, especially for an entire nation. It really
Yeah.
makes you think about the possibilities.
Right. Like, what else could be done?
Yeah, exactly. Could this be like a model for other countries with a lot of resources, countries that want to share their wealth more fairly?
Right.
It's definitely going to be a hot topic for a while, I think.
Oh, for sure. But there was something else, too, right? It wasn't just the cash grants. What was that other big thing? Oh, yeah, free tuition.
Oh, right. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, starting January 2025, no more tuition fees.
Mm-hmm.
For the University of Guyana and
Yeah.
any government technical schools?
Wow. No more tuition fees at all.
Nope, totally free.
So, free education.
Free education.
On top of direct cash grants. Wow, they're really serious about investing in people, aren't they?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. This education move, though, that could have a much bigger impact, bigger than the grants even, when you think about the long term.
Right. How so?
Well, if you take away that barrier to entry, that cost of education,
Right.
you're essentially empowering a whole generation.
Wow.
It's not just about, giving people money right now to help them out. It's about giving them the tools to build a better future for themselves, and for Guyana as a whole.
It's almost like a totally different way of thinking about development, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's less about just immediate aid and more about building something that will last.
Exactly.
But something this big, it can't be easy, can it? Like, there's got to be some challenges that come with all of this.
Oh, for sure. For starters, you have to actually have the educational infrastructure to support it, right?
Right.
And it's got to be good quality, too, across the board. That's not easy to do quickly or cheaply.
Right.
And then there's another thing to consider. What about brain drain?
Oh, right.
So now you've got a more educated workforce.
Yeah.
But will they stay in Guyana and contribute to its growth?
Right. Yeah.
Or will they be tempted by opportunities in other countries?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
It's like this double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, it's a gamble, for sure. But the payoff could be huge if they can make it work.
Right.
And you know what's funny? Remember Winston Jordan, the former finance minister?
Yeah, the one who came up with the whole individual grant idea in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. It's not every day you see that kind of cooperation between political parties, especially on something this big and this important.
It really makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, there's a different way to approach these kinds of challenges.
I think so. It's a reminder that even with all the political drama, there can be common ground, especially when it comes to using a nation's wealth to help its people. It really makes you think what other amazing solutions are out there. Solutions we haven't even thought of yet. If we can just look past the usual political divides.
It's like they're saying, look, we might disagree on some things, but when it comes to Guyana's future, let's work together.
Right. It's really powerful. And it makes you wonder if maybe other countries could learn something from this.
Exactly. Like, what if this whole thing, this whole approach, it could be a model for other places dealing with these same kinds of issues.
Absolutely. We always hear about how politics is this, like, zero-sum game. But Guyana's showing us it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's recap everything, bring it all home. We've got this nation. They're taking this incredible leap, totally changing the game when it comes to handling this sudden wealth, direct cash to people, investing a ton in education, and they're even finding ways to work together across party lines to make it happen.
It's really remarkable, and it begs the question, what happens next?
Right. What's going to happen?
What kind of impact is this going to have, not just in Guyana, but around the world?
Right. Will other countries follow their lead?
Who knows? But it's definitely a story worth watching.
It really is. This is one of those stories where we're left with more questions than answers, right?
Definitely.
Like, will all of this actually work the way they hope? What kinds of challenges are they going to run into that maybe nobody's even thought of yet?
That's always the big question, isn't it?
It is. It's a good reminder that sometimes the most interesting changes come from the most unexpected places.
That's for sure.
Well, that's all the time we have for our deep dive today. But as always, we encourage you to keep digging, keep asking those questions.
Keep learning.
Because that's what this is all about, right?
Absolutely.
Until next time.